As we just saw, shares in mining services company Boart Longyear shed another 12% today as ratings agency Moody's downgraded the company's credit outlook. It comes just 24 hours after Boart Longyear's fourth profit downgrade in 12 months as it becomes the poster child for the end of the resources boom. So just how tough is it for corporate Australia in the once thriving resources regions of the West? Well, joining me now from Perth is Bell Potter resources analyst Giuliano Salatena. Welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Boart Longyear shares have lost 2/3 of their value so far this year. Is that just because of the resources slowdown, or is this a company that's just badly managed?
Look, they're the largest provider of integrated drilling services globally, and I think that certainly exploration budgets have been cut quite aggressively globally since we've seen a number of commodities come off. So I think it is a case that perhaps going into this, and now they're sort of paying the cost for that.
To be fair, though, other mining services companies are also struggling, but from the outside looking in, it seems as though the end of the mining construction boom has come as a surprise to some of these companies.
Yeah, look, I mean, looking at Western Australia, there's still a lot of projects out there. I mean, we've still got the Rio and BHP projects which are running on course. We've got the Roy Hill project which is still out there seeking financing, and that potentially is a $10 billion project in itself. And then we still have a number of LNG projects being constructed at the moment in this country. 7 of the 13 projects globally in LNG are actually being constructed in this country at the moment. So I'm not all doom and gloom on the mining services sector. I just think we are going through a transition period.
Now, the resources slowdown must be having a big impact on, say, towns like Kalgoorlie, for example, which relies heavily on gold. What anecdotal evidence are you seeing of businesses struggling in these regions?
Yeah, look, gold's just put in its worst quarterly performance in over 100 years, and we've seen from the largest gold producers like Newcrest right down to the smallest ones that they're obviously in troubled times at the moment. Now, this is hitting regions like Kalgoorlie and Meekatharra quite hard. There was a number of smaller gold miners that have already put their operations under care and maintenance. A number of the larger ones are revising mine plans and looking at producing less ounces but more profitable ounces. So that's going to have an impact on a number of these regional centres, and certainly for the small and mid-cap companies, you know, the capital markets are somewhat closed at the moment in the gold sector, which is making it hard for them to get funding for further exploration and development.
That must have a flow-on effect to other businesses, if not directly related to the mining industry, but businesses that support these townships.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, in the gold space, it is difficult to see it turn around in the immediate future. I mean, really inflationary expectations and fear in financial markets, that drives the gold price. And there's neither of those really imminent just at the moment. So it's difficult to see that turn around in the short term.
You've already alluded to the BHPs and the Rios putting off their capital expenditure and the fact that smaller players are now really hurting, and particularly those that are leveraged heavily.
Yeah, look, absolutely, and it will be difficult. You know, iron ore pricing at the moment's come back to $115, $116 a tonne, so it's going to make it difficult for greenfields projects to get up from here. However, a number of the brownfields expansions will still proceed, and you know, we don't see the likes of Rio or BHP really cutting back on their capital expenditure in iron ore, and that's really one of the big drivers here in Western Australia.
Well, one company that many people will be surprised to see doing as well as it is in the current state of the cycle is Fortescue Metals with its new debt facility. It's saying it now can survive on an iron ore price getting down around $75 a tonne. Does that surprise you?
Well, not really. I mean, the Solomon project, which they're currently ramping up now, is a very good operation, and they were very focused on getting this project online because it was going to bring down their overall costs of production into the long term. So I think that Fortescue's got through the really danger period now. They'll be continuing to ramp up Firetail and King's Deposit. So come the end of the year, they'll be producing close to, 155 million tonnes at a very competitive price.
Now, you mentioned the Roy Hill project, and we're hearing that contractors are now flocking to that project. Is that the next big thing in resources?
Look, absolutely, and everyone's a little bit up in the air at the moment as to where they are with that. You know, the capital expenditure figure we've seen on that is something around $10 billion, and they're seeking maybe somewhere around $7 billion of debt financing. But certainly now, where we have seen some slowing in the mining services, there's a number of contractors which are, really looking to be able to get a drink at the Roy Hill project, and that's probably the one which a lot of them are really focusing on in the immediate future.
And is that likely to be the last of the big iron ore projects?
My personal view is it could very well be, particularly in this country. I mean, there is a lot of hurdles in implementing new projects in this country, from green tape to productivity issues around labour, and then you've obviously got weakening commodity prices as well. So Roy Hill may be the last of the really big projects, particularly in iron ore, to get up in this country.
Now, there's $200 billion worth of liquid natural gas projects being constructed in Australia at the moment. Is that the next really big thing in the Australian resources sector?
Yeah, look, absolutely, and I think that's what I've alluded to before, that we're in a transition period now. Certainly the big capital expenditure on the iron ore projects is slowing and to some extent coming to an end. And we're probably in a transition period before a lot of these LNG projects, particularly the ones on the west coast here, really get into full swing. Gorgon's been held up a lot. Wheatstone and Ichthys is just beginning. We've still got discussions around Browse, Pluto 2, potentially a Sunrise development as well. So these are just getting held up and taking a lot longer in the approval process. But in time, I think this will lead to another really strong period of construction in this state.
Very briefly, is there anything coming behind LNG, or is that it for Australian resources?
Well, I'd never say that's it. I mean, the LNG projects, most of them have very long construction periods. We're talking sort of 5 to 7 years. So certainly that will keep the state and indeed the country busy for some time to come. I mean, it's very difficult to make long-term predictions as to where the markets will move. Certainly uranium longer term may be something that the world has a great appetite for, and Western Australia and other parts of Australia have good deposits of uranium. So I wouldn't be so much to say as that I think it's the end of the resources boom. I think you'll just see a transition in what resources are consumed.
Giuliano Salatana, thank you very much for your time.